Here's lesson 5, the last lesson of the exponential functions unit. This is on transformations of exponential functions. The goal of this lesson, let me just scroll a little bit, is for you to be able to look at, I'll go to the last question actually, you to be able to look at a exponential function that looks like this. This is a transformed 1/2 to the power of x function. I need you to understand what this -2 that's being multiplied by the power, what this -2 that we're subtracting from the power, and this -3 that we're subtracting from the exponent of the power, what those do to transform that 1/2 to the power of x function and actually go ahead and be able to graph that function by applying transformations to the 1/2 to the power of x function. In order to do all of that, I'm going to have to remind you about what the transformation parameters a, k, d, and c do to transform a general function. And even before that, maybe let's do a little bit of a warm-up question where I've given you 7 functions here and it says which of the following graphs would be the same. In order to do this question, you'll have to know the exponent rule that would tell me that x to the power of a, that power raised to another exponent, we'll call it b, that would be equal to x to the power of the product of a and b. Using that property, let's just look at this function right here. I could rewrite that 2 to the power of 3x. I could rewrite that as 2 to the power of 3 to the power of x. And 2 to the power of 3 is 8, so that would be equivalent to 8 to the power of x. So I can see that h at x and r at x would be equivalent functions. They're both equal to 8 to the power of x. Let me highlight them in the same color so we can see that they're the same. Let's see if we can find another pair. I notice I could rewrite that function 2 to the power of 5x. Let me zoom in on it. I could rewrite that as 2 to the power of 5 to the power of x. And 2 to the 5 is 32. So I have 32 to the power of x. Do we have any functions in this group that are 32 to the power of x? Yep, I see it over here, the f at x function. So those ones are a pair. And lastly, I notice those are a pair as well. If I zoom in, I could rewrite 3 to the power of 2x as a 3 squared to the power of x, which is 9 to the power of x. So that, of course, is equivalent to the g at x function. Now that we've done a little warm-up, let me remind you about what the parameters c, a, d, and k do to transform a function. And we're going to look specifically at how they transform an exponential function. So if we have an exponential function that looks like this, b to the power of x, we can multiply that power by a value, and usually we call that value a. We can add or subtract a number from that power. I will call that value c. And then we could also manipulate its exponent. I could multiply the exponent by a value, we'll call it k, or I could subtract a value from the exponent, I'll call it d. So that's what a transformed exponential function would look like. I'll call this function g at x. I'm just showing you how we can manipulate the f at x function by multiplying or adding numbers to the power or to the exponent itself. And let me remind you what those values would do to transform a function. So let's go into Desmos and let's play around with those parameters. Notice I have parameters a, k, d, and c programmed in to be transforming a 2 to the power of x function. A and c do vertical transformations. The c value, which I'll manipulate first, notice moves a function up and down. If c is positive, it moves the function up. If c is negative, it moves the function down. Also, another important note here is that exponential functions have a horizontal asymptote that starts at y equals 0, but as we manipulate the c value, that moves the horizontal asymptote up and down according to the value of c. The a value also does a vertical transformation, but it either vertically stretches or compresses the exponential function. If a is bigger than 1, so like up to 2, notice there's a vertical stretch. All the y values double. But if a is between 0 and 1, so let me make it a half, notice there's a vertical compression. The y values get cut in half. If I make a negative, the same thing happens, it just vertically reflects the function as well. Let me set a back to 1, and let's look at the horizontal transformations k and d. The d value, if I make it positive, that shifts the exponential function to the right. If I make it negative, it shifts it to the left. And the k value does a horizontal stretch or compression. The stretch or compression that happens is based on the reciprocal of the k value. So if I make k 2, it's actually a horizontal compression by a factor of 1 over 2. Notice the x value of any given point gets cut in half. If I make k a half, it's actually a horizontal stretch by 2. the x value of any point is being doubled. And of course, if I make k negative, that does a horizontal reflection across the y-axis. Okay, now that you remember those properties, let's go ahead and try a question. Example 1 says graph the function g at x, which is equal to 2 times 2 to the power of a half times x minus 1. What is the base function? If I zoom in on this, the base function just means what function is being transformed. So we just look, what is the base of the power here? The base of the power is 2. And the exponent is, of course, x. So our base function is 2 to the power of x. I'll say y equals 2 to the power of x. That's our base function. And then we are going to figure out what transformations are happening to that 2 to the power of x function. There's a number being multiplied in front of the power. We usually call that an a parameter. In the exponent, we have a value being multiplied by x, that's k. And we also have a value being subtracted from x, that's d. Let's jot down. Step 2 says describe the transformations made to the base function. So an a value of 2 does a vertical stretch by a factor of 2. If we're vertically stretching a function by a factor of 2, that just means the y values are being doubled. So in brackets, I'm going to write what algebraic operation I would need to do. I would need to double the y values. The k value of a half, any k value between -1 and 1, except for 0, does a horizontal stretch. So this is a horizontal stretch by a factor of the reciprocal of the k value. So a horizontal stretch by a factor of 2. So algebraically, to accomplish that, I would have to double all the x values. Lastly, the d value, remember, is what we are subtracting from x. Since we're subtracting 1 in the exponent, my d value is +1. That means that I'm going to shift the function right 1 unit. To do that, I would take each x value and add 1. Step 3 asks us to make a table of values for the base function and the transformed function. Well, the base function was y equals 2 to the power of x. Let me choose x values between -3 and 3, and then calculate the corresponding y value by taking each of those x values, subbing them in for x into the function y equals 2 to the power of x. We'll start with -3. Let's sub that in for x. 2 to the power of -3 is equal to 1 over 2 to the power of +3, so that's 1 over 8, which is 0.125. I'll use a decimal value when I'm graphing. 2 to the -2 is 1 over 2 to the +2, so 1 over 4, that's 0.25. 2 to the -1 is 1 over 2, which is 0.5. And you should notice that the y values are repeatedly doubling. And that's happening because the base of our power is 2. Exponential functions are just repeated multiplication by the base of the power. So the y values are repeatedly doubling. So it's going to go from 0.5 to 1, then to 2, then to 4, then to 8. I need to now apply the transformations that we wrote down in step 2, apply those transformations to the 2 to the x function. And then that will give us the graph of gx. And g of x was equal to 2 times 2, let me zoom in a bit, to the power of a half times x minus 1. So to the x value, we said we were going to have to double it and add 1. And to the y value, we said we just had to double the y values. A hint for you how we figure out what we can write in these two spots. To x, we always divide it by the k value and then add d. And to get the y transformations, we multiply by a and then add c. So as long as we follow those rules, using the a, k, d, and c values, we'll get the correct transformations in our table. So now to get the x values of my transformed g at x function, I just have to take each of the x values from my base function, sub them into this little calculation I made for x, and I get my new x values. So basically I just have to double all of those and add 1. When I do it to -3, when I sub that in for this x, 2 times -3 is -6, plus 1 is -5. Let's now do it for -2. 2 times -2 plus 1 is -3. For -1, sub it in for this x, 2 times -1 is -2, plus 1 is -1. And then you could do it for the remaining values. I'll just give you the answers for those. Now for the y values, we just take each of these y values and do what this transformation says, just double them. So 0.125, when I sub it in here and double it, I get 0.25. And if I double the rest of these values and write them over here, so these are the points for my transformed function, g at x. If you want to test any of them out, you could take any of those x values, sub them in for this x in your transformed equation, and you should get the correct y value that our table says you should have. Let's now graph both functions. Step 4 says to graph both functions. I think I'm actually only going to graph the transformed function. So I will graph the transformed function. We called it g at x. I'll just make my scale go by ones to make it easy. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to graph the horizontal asymptote. Exponential functions are always going to be at y equals 0, unless there's a c value that has shifted the function up or down. But for this question, there was no c value, so it remains at y equals 0. And then I'll just plot all of the 7 points that we had in the table here. If I connect these points with a curve, making sure not to cross the asymptote, just show that I'm continually getting closer and closer and closer to it. And make sure I label this function g at x. And I have arrows on the end of this function in both directions, showing it continues in both directions. There's the g at x function. Example 2. Let's look at this g at x function. In order to graph this one, once again, I'll use transformations. But what function is being transformed this time? I notice the base of the power is 3, and the exponent is x. So this is a 3 to the x function that is being transformed. So step 1, what's the base function? It is 3 to the power of x. Step 2 says describe the transformations made to the base function. This one's a little bit tricky. If you see this hint here, it says the k value must be common factored out from the exponent. So in the exponent here, I notice that the k value of 2 has not been common factored out from the two terms in the exponent. So I'm going to rewrite this function. I'll rewrite it as 3 to the power of 2 multiplied by, let me divide both the terms in the exponent by 2 to give me x minus 2. And then the c value is 1. So in this function, I have a k value of 2, a d value of 2, and a c value of 1. I don't see a number in front of the power, so there's an invisible 1 there, so the a value is 1. Let's use those parameters to describe the transformations that are happening to 3 to the x. I don't have to write anything for an a value of 1, but the k value of 2 is going to do a horizontal compression by a factor of 1 over 2. Algebraically, I would just divide all the x's by 2. That's going to cut all the x values in half. The d value is what we're subtracting from x. We're subtracting a 2. So that means we would shift each point right 2 units. So I would have to add 2 to all the x values. And the c value is 1. So I'd have to shift each point up 1 unit. To do that, I would add 1 to all of the y values of each point. Let's make a table of values for the base function 3 to the x. And then use all of these transformations to get the points for my transformed function. So the table on the left, I'll do for my base function 3 to the x. I'll choose the same x values, negative 3 to 3, and then I'll calculate the y's by using the relationship right here. Y is equal to 3 to the power of each of these x values. If I sub in negative 3, I get 3 to the negative 3, which is 1 over 3 to the positive 3, so 1 over 27, which is really close to 0. It's about 0.04. If I sub in negative 2, I get 1 over 9, which is 0.11. If I sub in negative 1, I get 1 over 3, which is 0.33. Notice these values are tripling. 3 to the 0 is 1, 3 to the 1 is 3, 9, and then 27. My transformed function, I believe, was called g at x again, and it was 3, let me zoom in, to the power of 2 times x minus 2 plus 1. So to the x, we said we had to divide it by 2 and add 2. And to the y, we said we just had to add 1. And once again, a reminder, this is always x over k plus d. This is a times y plus c. We will do these transformations to these points, and then we have the points of our transformed function. Let me start by taking all of these x values and subbing them in here. So basically cut them in half and then add 2. If we start with negative 3, if I cut it in half, I get negative 1.5. When I add 2, I get a half. I'll do that to the remaining values and write them here. And now I'll take each of these y values and I'll add 1 to it. Now let me graph this function. And the first thing I'm going to do actually is plot where the horizontal asymptote is going to be. The horizontal asymptote is always at the c value. So it's going to be at 1. So I'll draw my horizontal asymptote at y equals 1. I'll make my scale go by 1 again, just so it's easy to plot the points. So if I sketch this function, you can see it really has been horizontally compressed. Arrows on both sides showing the continuity. And let me also label what the function's name is. It was named g at x. All right, let's go ahead and do the last example. This is the one I showed you at the beginning of the lesson. In this example, the function that is being transformed is a 1/2 to the power of x. So the base function is a 1/2 to the power of x. What transformations are happening to that function? I've got an a value of -2, a d value of 3, and a c value of -2. Let's describe the transformations made to that base function. So an a value of -2 does two things. It does a vertical stretch by a factor of 2, so I'd have to double the y values. And because it's negative, there's also a vertical reflection. So I'd have to change the sign of all the y values by multiplying it by -1. I could combine those two transformations and just say multiply y by -2, but I'll leave them separate for now. The d value is what we're subtracting from x, so the d value is 3, which means shift right 3 units. So to the x's, I would have to add 3. And my c value is -2. That means shift down 2 units. So each point, I'll have to subtract 2 from the y value. Let's do those transformations to the base function. So I'll start by making my table of values for the base function, y equals a 1/2 to the power of x. I'll choose the same x values. I'll sub each of those x values in for x into this equation to get the y values. And I'll give those to you. A 1/2 to the power of -3 is equal to 2 to the power of +3, which is 8. And then I'll just fill in the rest for you. Notice they're going to be getting cut in half repeatedly. And now my transformed function, which was called g at x again, was -2 times the power a 1/2 to the exponent of x minus 3 minus 2. To the x's, all we said was we had to add 3. And to the y's, we said we had to multiply by -2 and subtract 2. Once again, x over k plus d goes here. A times y plus c goes here. So now I'm just going to apply that transformation to all of these x values. So just take all of the x values from the base function and add 3. And then I have to take each of these y values and apply this transformation, multiply by -2 and subtract 2. So my first one, when I multiply it by -2, I get -16, and subtract 2, that brings me to -18. And then I'll fill in the rest of them for you. Now to graph the transformed function, I'll just plot all of these points. Once again, I'll make my scale go by 1, so that point won't fit on there, but I can plot the rest. And I should always start by drawing the horizontal asymptote at the c value. So it's going to be at y equals -2. I'll start by drawing that. And now I'll plot all my points. I'll connect all of these with a curve. That as x goes to infinity, this function keeps approaching that horizontal asymptote. And I'll label the function. And there we have it. There's the end of the last lesson of exponential functions. Jensen Math!